Greetings, geeks, and welcome to Wizards, the podcast guide to comics YouTube series. What is are we doing? We're doing Robin's Reading Rainbow, right? Let me take
You
that
got
over.
it.
I almost forgot. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know we had something important related to Batman, but I got sidetracked. As Adam is showcasing with a lot of Batman stuff, and I'm wearing a Batman hat, I tried to find my Batman Christmas sweater, but it's somewhere in my house. You know, when you get married, your wife puts stuff away and you don't know where it goes. So
Maybe on purpose sometimes.
oftentimes on purpose, yes. So we're actually here to talk about, on Robin's Reading Rainbow, one of my favorite Elseworlds stories of all time. And this is a story that, if you haven't read it, it's only 50 pages. It is a very quick read. I wish it was longer. It could be so much longer if they really wanted to, but it's very interesting. It's a lot of fun to read, and it is Superman Speeding Bullets.
Kapow! Oh!
And you're probably asking yourself, why are we wearing Batman? And it's a Superman book. Well, technically, it's kind of both. So the backstory behind this book is that instead of Kal-El landing in Kansas and being found by the Kents, the Waynes find him just outside of Gotham City. And they name him Bruce Wayne instead of Clark Kent. And he grows up as Bruce Wayne, and the origin of that starts from there. So the funny thing about this book, right? The author and the artist, J.M. DeMatteis, I think it's pronounced, and Eduardo Barreto or Barreto. Is that how you say it? I don't even know.
Barreto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any other Batman stories that they ever did.
Well, so yeah, J.M. DeMatteis, I know him mainly from Marvel. He did a lot of writing over at Marvel Spider-Man, some pretty core stories. But I don't recall him dipping his toes into DC very often. Somebody's going to tell us we're wrong, but he wasn't a name I associated with DC. And then when I was looking at the art in this book, I was like, the art looks very much like a DC house style,
right?
But Eduardo Barreto is not a name, again, that jumps out to be like, oh, he was on this book for X number of years. Yeah. So it was interesting. It's really great art, though, but it was surprising. I hadn't heard of him before.
I really like the art. It's beautiful. It's well drawn. The story is very interesting, too, how they kind of twist things on their head. And so, funny enough, I recently received a package in the mail with something that I've talked about on the podcast, is the official announcement poster.
Yeah. Man, that is good looking. I wonder where that came from.
Some guy, I don't know. Some dude sent me some, stuff in the mail. I don't know. He's a nice guy, though. He sent me some cool stuff. So I was actually, and I'm going to try to, if I can, if the restaurant will let me. The restaurant that I've spoken about is a place called Trisha's Cafe in Babylon, New York, and they have this poster in their bathroom. I'm going to try to get a selfie in there if they'll let me. I'll be like, listen, I got a podcast. I'm promoting your place. I've eaten here for the last 20 years. Let me go in, take a quick selfie, and leave.
Did I take a selfie in your bathroom?
in a public restaurant bathroom.
Got some speeding bullets of my own to take care of. Anyway. But yeah, so if you guys haven't heard that story, you should go back and listen to one of the most recent episodes of Wizards, the podcast guide to comics, where Michael laid out that story, and that was the impetus for our discussion today, because when that was mentioned, I also remembered, yes, this is one of my favorites too. Like, there are a lot of Elseworlds tales out there, and I have plenty of them.
Me too. I have a lot.
So few stack up to this, to the efficiency, like you said, if it's only 50 pages long, but it hits every beat you want. It doesn't leave like a lot of stuff unanswered where you're just like, oh, well, they'd have to do a follow-up. No, like it gives you what you need to know about the character. And most of all, it answers that question, right? Because what always has set apart Batman from Superman. You know, people that say, oh, well, I like Batman because he's just a guy.
Right.
He's just a guy who got himself to the peak of mental and physical perfection of humanity, and then he goes out there and fights for justice. So that there is that question: what if Batman had superpowers?
Yeah.
How would that change the game? You know, and so you talked about the origin, obviously. So a different set of parents in this case, I feel like did make that big a difference. You know, either way, he had loving, nurturing parents who taught him. They talk about, you know, that Thomas Wayne was a little bit more of a taskmaster. He wasn't as loving as Martha Wayne, but overall, it wasn't that big a deal, you know, like the parent side.
But you know what's funny about that? So they do say that he's not as loving or affectionate or what have you, but he was fascinated with how this boy from another planet is so intelligent so naturally, and he wanted to flourish that intelligence and push the kid the limit to see how much he could absorb and learn. And honestly, as always, Alfred plays a very significant role, even though it's only for moments. And like, there's a moment when they first find him where Alfred goes, I guess we're canceling your reservation to some like big gala. And he makes like a funny quippy joke. And then there's moments where Alfred and you know, Bruce Wayne, you know, Kal-El Bruce Wayne, are just walking around Wayne Manor, and he's talking to him like he's his pal and like a friend and a confidant, and kind of breaking up the differences between Martha being super loving and Thomas being super strict. And here's the interesting thing about this story. As opposed to Bruce Wayne of like, you know, continuity, they're always out and this and that. They kept this Bruce Wayne very much home and private, and they'd only go out for what he said was a monthly fancy dinner and a movie. And
the reason being is the inciting incident in this story, very similar to our Bruce Wayne that were, you know, the origin we've seen a million times. His parents do get killed, they get gunned down, but it's in their house. There's a break-in to their mansion, and that is a moment where Bruce actually, in his rage in seeing his parents killed, that's when his, you know, his heat vision kicks in, and he shoots, you know, and burns the intruder, you know, and that, but that at that moment he has a mental block.
I'm going to
So
correct you on that.
Oh, really?
It doesn't.
Oh, what did I miss?
So it does happen in the alley.
Oh, you're right.
It later something happens in
yes. Okay. I was conflating the two. You're right.
Another word I gotta get a definition for: conflating. Oh, great. So basically, it happens in the alley by Joe Chill. But what happens is Joe Chill shoots Bruce Wayne, and there's bullet holes all over his clothing, and then the rage kicks in, and the heat vision just goes and blasts Joe Chill in the face. He doesn't die initially, but they say they found him a couple blocks away, dead with his face all charred up and everything. And that's where the mental block kicks in.
Yeah, so Bruce spends all these years basically, yeah, just hiding out. He's known as this recluse.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, and so then Alfred says he's always trying to get him to go out to be a normal person again. He just doesn't feel a need because you see he is obsessed with the news and the evil that is in the world. He's like, why would I want to go out there and participate in the evil? But he doesn't remember all the details of his parents' death. He just knows the world's a bad place. I don't want to go. And then, like I said, I jumped the gun. These guys break into the mansion. Yeah. Now they're going to rob Bruce Wayne. And then that's where, you know, he has kind of this moment, you know, this clarity that comes through, this breakthrough. And now, you know, he's realizes his powers again. He's like, wait a minute, I had powers. I killed the guy that killed my parents. Like he's like, oh. And so he has this moment where he starts considering, okay, what could I do now if I have this power, you know, and what can I do to clean up the world and make it, or at least make evil pay for the crimes that it commits in many forms through many people.
So the funny thing about this is he does sort of remember that he has some abilities. He says to the guys breaking in, "You can't hurt me. The bullets won't hurt me." Like he remembered that part, but he forgot the heat vision and the strength and all that other stuff that goes along with it. And even though it looks like in the comic that he killed those guys, they say that he didn't. Like they got away, and then they go back to the crime boss, who you only sort of see in silhouette with a purple jacket and a purple glove,
and a big smile,
and a big smile,
darkness, just the lips, yeah.
And, so the funny thing about this thing that I keep saying the funny thing. So the costume on this particular Batman is one of my favorite Batman costume designs I've ever seen. And it's never been recreated. It's only been in this particular comic.
Really? So has there not been an action figure? Because I know you have other Elseworlds action figures. They never made it?
I've never seen this figure, ever.
Wow.
I wish there was. I'd buy 10 of them. Yeah, I've never found this action figure. I don't know why. I don't know, maybe for licensing they never did it, or maybe it just wasn't that much popular of a book at the time. It's not super well known as like Gotham by Gaslight, but this is so unique. But the way the bat symbol is, it's in sort of a similar crest to the Superman logo on the chest. He's got these cool little like ripples on the arm.
He's got ridges on the inside and on the it looks really, really cool.
Which they they sort of recreated in New 52 when they do like the 0 year of Batman by Greg Capullo. They give him that sort of a look on the side and on the arms, but it's only for a couple of issues, not super long.
Well, and the cowl is very much like the Nightfall Azrael armor cowl, but I think this is a version where if they had done this design for Azrael, people would have been like, okay, that's not over the top, it's not crazy. I think that was what they were going for with the character, so that's why it was armor and had everything flying off it, but still, like, if they were just looking for a new Batman at the time, this would have been a fantastic design to use.
Oh, it's such an awesome design. Even the boots have the kind of the ridges on them, and the face is fully covered. I wonder if they sort of tried to mimic that when they did Batman Beyond, because the face is covered, even the mouth moves in the cartoon. It's interesting, but it's such a cool looking costume. And so he goes out in the world and he's taking down the bad guys, but he's Batman violence on kryptonite or on steroids, so to speak. And he's super violent, and he's doesn't have any weapons. Obviously, he just flies around and beats people up and blasts them with heat vision. And one of the biggest reveals you get is, so what happens is his company, Wayne Enterprises, is getting bought out by Lex Luthor, and Bruce Wayne comes in and says, no, get out of here, you're not buying my company, I got this, and so on and so forth. And he also buys the Gotham Gazette and brings in Perry White and Lois Lane and a bunch of the big people that were in the Daily Planet that had gotten fired by Lex Luthor when he bought the Daily Planet, and he wanted to make his own version of Daily Planet in Gotham City with real reporters and real people. And Lois is out in the city. She gets more or less kidnapped by Lex Luthor, and then he throws her out into an alley when she wouldn't, give in to his wiles, I guess you would say.
Don't you ever lay a hand on me.
Oh, it's such a good moment in the comic. And then she's kind of in the middle of, a bad part of Gotham City, and Batman or Superman or whatever you want to call him, the amalgam, comes right through the concrete and protects her, but he beats them so violently, and he blasts him with the heat vision, and he like really, really messes him up, that you see Lois Lane and you hear in the narration that she's like, if the world needs this is a monster. Like, I don't want someone like this to be the protector. He's a monster. And then it kind of goes on where she becomes his, like, I guess the word would be like a tent pole. Like, she pulls him back from being
his conscience, essentially. Yeah,
essentially,
she's teaching him, like, you have a power, but you can use it in a more altruistic way. Yes, you can fight against justice, but it doesn't have to be killing evil.
Yeah. and she becomes, she brings him back to being some sort of humanity in a way. But now's where the big twist happens. They keep teasing that Lex was involved in some sort of explosion, but he lived. And as the comic goes on, you see Lex Luthor's wardrobe start to evolve from like a black suit to then he has purple gloves to a purple coat to a purple hat, and you're like, whoa, this is the Joker. And he pulls his own face off and reveals a white face with a red lips, and he reveals himself as the Joker. And what's very interesting about this moment is that he says after the incident he was sitting home and just eating because he gets very, very fat. Like, it's a fat Joker and a fat Lex Luthor. It's kind of funny, but it works for the story. And you find out that the Joker and Lex Luthor are the same person, and it's really, really a cool reveal.
Yeah, and I mean, and obviously, you're gonna have the showdown between Superbat and Lex Luthor, and there's gonna be the whole back and forth and whatever, and like that's fine. Like
it's fine.
I don't feel like it wraps up in any like real monumental way. No. But what ends up being the case, right, is once that is all set aside, okay, Batman acted honorably based on what Lois has been encouraging him to do and all those things, then he switches his persona to be not so dark, yes. And by comparison to how awesome the Batman design is I don't know how I feel about this.
This is awful. Like, it's not, I mean, the suit itself isn't bad. It's whatever they did with the face mask, which I'll post this in the video as well in a closer image.
It looks like a rejected, Vindicator or whatever.
Eradicator, yeah.
Yeah, the Eradicator from the Return, Reign of the Superman stuff. Like, that looks like, this is one idea we have. We decided not to use it.
It doesn't work. It's not great. A couple of things that are really great about this story is the way they draw Bruce Wayne. It's almost as if they took what Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne look like and mashed them together, because there's like the S curl, but there's like the Bruce Wayne like eyes and eyebrows. It's very blended, and the artist really does a great job of like melding those two characters together to look like one person. It was really impressive how they did that.
Yeah, so I this is one of those that, you're saying you don't hear people talk about it very much. If you have not read the Speeding Bullets book, you should go seek this out if you're a fan at all of the now we're in this world of multiverses coming out in the movies. If that wasn't something you looked at before, we got the What If show coming on to Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. This is a great place to start. Yeah. Like I say, that they're kind of hit and miss. You get some good ones, then after a while you get maybe a runs of okay idea but not executed well. But this is one of the best examples, I would say. If you were going to say, hey, wait, what is this Elseworlds thing I hear about? You hand them this book, people are like, oh, that was pretty cool. It's like, yeah, it was, wasn't it? Like, it's familiar enough and then tweaks it just enough that it's new and exciting.
Yeah, this one's really, really unique. The only, other than the Superman reveal, the costume at the end, the only complaint I have about this story, and I noticed it last night when I reread it, the first half of the book feels like it's narrated by Alfred. The second half feels like it's narrated by Lois. But like normally in comics, what they would do is they would change the font or change what the thought bubble would look like, and they don't. So you kind of like get a little confused, like who is telling us this story? And it's when he's a child, it's Alfred, and I had to like really look at it. But as it evolves and Lois Lane comes onto the scene, it becomes Lois Lane, which is weird, but it was good. It was fine. I have no complaints otherwise. So
yeah, definitely they could clean that up a little bit, but overall a great adventure, great way to go. And we're talking to you, Mattel, or whoever has the DC license these days.
McFarlane does, actually.
Oh, that's right. Hey, McFarlane, Todd, get after it, man. This is waiting to happen.
And he's doing all Elseworlds stuff right now. He's doing. Yeah. I don't know if I have it around anywhere, but I just got. Oh, I do. Ooh, I can show you this. Hold on one second. So during my holiday shopping, I needed to get myself some things. So I got, let me see them. This is the Flashpoint Batman, and this is from the Dark Knight's Metal. This is the Grim Knight. And the Grim Knight is like the only fully like weaponized machine gun Batman. And then you have the Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman. So those are my things for myself that I got for the holidays.
Wow, very nice. Well, so that was Robin's Reading Rainbow. We hope you enjoyed this installment. Now, of course, we're talking action figures here. We have our Action Figure Fury segment coming up as well, so keep an eye on that playlist here on the Wizards, the Podcast Guide to Comics YouTube channel. Of course, you want to check us out every Wednesday. We're bringing you new content in podcast audio form. That's right, where we're either covering a full issue of Wizard Magazine or getting into the nitty gritty on one of our Wizards half episodes. And we have a lot of new features that are coming into the half episodes. So you'll want to check those out and see if it adds a little bit of extra 90s comics nostalgia to your week. Of course, we also are looking to bring you a more an even wider variety. So if you have any ideas, certainly leave us a message in the comments down below and let us know, hey, I'd love to see if you guys showed us this or talked about this, and we'll be happy to work it into the schedule.
Absolutely. And you could also, on our mini episodes, hear me ramble on about God knows what to myself. So it's you don't know where you're going to get. Trust me.
And check us out on social media, of course, on Twitter at Wizards Comics, on Instagram at Wizards_comics, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And so you can find us whenever we drop new content. And until next time.
If you want one of these awesome shirts, you can get it on our TeePublic store. And our new shirt with our new logo, too.
Yes, hey. We're trying to bring you everything that you want and maybe something you don't. The Big Cheese t-shirt, that one might be just for us. But it does exist. You've seen it here on the YouTube channel. You can for sure get your updated remix version of the Big Cheese t-shirt. So until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.